Welcome to the show. Today I'm at Foster's house in Malvern and I'm really excited because we're going to take a look at Spanish cuisine. Spanish cooking's become very popular recently and for good reason. It's very simple and it's full of flavour. We're going to look at 3 of my favourite recipes, an entree, main and dessert. All you need for a fiesta at home. So come join me in the kitchen. So lid goes on and voila, beautiful beef burger fit for a king. So come and join me in the kitchen. Spanish food has become very popular in Australia. I think one of the major reasons for this is tapas. For those of you not familiar with tapas, they're just small little entree-sized dishes that are perfect for sharing. So they're great if you're going to catch up with a group of friends or if you're going to have a little fiesta at your house. Today we're going to make pea, ham and potato croquettes. They're quite easy to make. All you're going to need to make them is some potatoes, some ham, some peas, some smoked paprika, some onion and garlic, olive oil, parsley and salt and pepper. To get started, we need to get our mix cooking. So start off with your onion. You want to make sure you cut these things nice and small because once we make them into croquettes, you don't want any big chunks in there. So as fine as you can. In case you're not familiar with croquettes, they just look a little bit like a fish finger, but it's just a fancy chef word for basically anything that's rolled and covered in crumbs. They make them all over the world, but and as you can probably tell, croquette is a French word, but this is a Spanish version of it. So, onions diced up, nice and fine, a little bit of olive oil in, and in goes the onions. So, just a nice low to medium heat. We don't want to get too much colour on it, we just want to cook it. So while the onions are cooking, onto our garlic. Just slice it nice and fine. And I think half a clove will do it. It's important to get your garlic in nice and early because we want all that flavour to cook out so it goes through the entire croquette. Next, we're going to get our ham in. So about 100 grams of ham. If you want to be really Spanish, you can get jamón, which is the Spanish form of prosciutto, but that's what they call ham. So because we're in Australia and I'm cooking for Australians, I'm just going to use normal ham. But if you want to take your fiesta to the next level, get yourself a bit of jamón. In that goes with our onion and garlic. And if you wanted this dish to be vegetarian as well, then you could just leave the ham out. Maybe put some tofu or something in. Next up, we're just going to chop up some parsley and get that in there too. Nice and rough. Okay. So now that our onions and garlic are nearly cooked, they're starting to go clear and the ham's starting to fill the air with its aromas. Now we can add our peas as well. I'm just using frozen peas here. I think they're a great product, so I don't think it's necessary to go getting fresh peas and potting them yourself or anything like that. Frozen peas do the trick. So next up, we've got our potatoes. These have already been boiled just in some nice salted water and they're ready to go. It's really important that you pre-cook your potatoes just because they're not going to have a chance to cook in this dish. So nice and small. The potatoes are really important in this dish because they are what's going to mush up and form our croquettes into their shape. So you need to make sure they're completely cooked and that you use floury potatoes, not waxy potatoes, because they have a lot more starch. So in go our potatoes, it's all coming together nicely. Give it a good stir. Try and keep it in the pan. Now, just a little bit of salt and pepper. Quite a bit of salt actually, not a little bit. You need to make sure you season this up really nicely because that's going to give it heaps of flavour and it's going to stop them from being bland. Nice bit of cracked pepper in there as well. And finally, a bit of smoked paprika. The paprika is really important in this dish because it gives it that beautiful earthy, smoky, Española flavour. If you find that it's soaked up too much of your oil, just put a little bit more back in because you want to make sure that this doesn't burn on the bottom. Especially now that you've added your paprika because it'll burn the spice and it will taste nothing like what it should. So this is almost done here, nice and quick. And then I'm going to chuck this back in the bowl and then I'm going to cool this down in the fridge. Because we're going to crumb these croquettes today, it's really important that your mix is cold, otherwise it won't hold its shape, and when you cook the croquettes they'll just fall apart. So really important to make sure it's quite cold. But I'm just going to throw this in the fridge now. This will probably take an hour, hour and a half to cool down, and then we can form them into croquettes. Okay, so my mix is nice and cold now, and all I'm going to do is start mashing it up. You want to make sure you mash it up quite a bit because otherwise they'll find it hard to hold together. It also means that in every mouthful you get an explosion of flavour. There's only one word that I really know in Spanish, and it was taught to me by a Spaniard. De la caña means hurry up, and he said it to me quite a bit, so I don't know if it's actually the real word for it, but I certainly use it. You don't want to turn it into like absolute puree because you still want some texture in there and that. But you can see here it's like a nice paste now, and it's certainly going to hold together. So now what we need to do is just turn these into little cylinders. If you're a bit precious, you can put some gloves on. But just like that in your hands, give them a roll. Beautiful. So now that we've got our little cylinders, it's time to crumb them. So here I've got my basic crumbing station again with just egg wash, that's just water and some eggs whisked up, plain flour and breadcrumbs. So you've got to be a little bit gentle when you do this. Probably just do these ones one at a time. Once they're crumbed, they're not so precious, but just while you're crumbing them, you need to treat them with a bit of respect. And there we have our beautiful croquette, that easy. So now that you have your croquettes, it's time to fry them off. If you're having a bit of trouble getting them to stay together, it's best that at this point you put them in the fridge because that'll help the egg set and it'll just be another way of getting them to stick together better. But today I'm just going straight in. So in they go. Medium to hot oil, making sure you always drop them away from yourself so it doesn't splash on you. If you're a little bit health conscious, then you can cook these in the oven, but deep frying them gives it that beautiful crunch, which is what the word croquette actually means. And these are looking absolutely amazing. They'll be sure to impress any of your friends, whether they be Spanish or not. So once these are nice and golden and crispy and beautiful, take them out. Give them a drain on some paper towel. And as you can see, people can't tell from the outside that they're going to be amazing inside. So sometimes a nice little simple wrapping on the outside makes the present inside even better. So just give them a quick season up with some salt. And then onto your dish. These will be coming off just as quickly as they're going on. So make sure you make plenty. But stick around because after the break we're doing the old Spanish classic, paella, or as most Australians call it, paella. So stick around.